Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to this edition of There Can Only Be One, the podcast that puts together the all-star best of playlists of your favorite bands and artists. Hello to all of our listeners in Bakersfield, California, and around the world. How the heck are you guys doing? Now, I love that we gave a little shout out to our listeners in Bakersfield, California, because 4 hours away by car, traffic permitting, is Rodeo, California, or Rodeo, California. The birthplace of our subject today, the one and only punk power masters, Green Day. And here to join me for this little rodeo of a show, my lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing?
Rodeo.
Right?
Yeehaw.
Well, I mean, they are from Rodeo, California, so
Fair.
Fair and fair, right?
Well, at least you're not talking about, it being a green day.
No. Although, you know what's funny? Okay, so let me get this story out of the way now, because
How does that lead to a story?
there is a story to this. Okay, so I used to be in a band like back in the 90s, right? And we recorded an album. And the funny thing is, there was this thing where like someone said during the recording process, like, what day is it today? And the other person wasn't really thinking about the questions, like, Green Day? And so all of a sudden, anytime it was recording, it was Green Day to record. So there you go.
There you go.
All right.
You have it.
There you go. A
Also,
completely useless story for your information. You're welcome.
Also, there's a reason why we're talking about Green Day.
Yes, because today, release day is September 30th. So September has ended. It is time to wake Billy Joe Armstrong up and go through the discography. Yeah.
You did.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you let both of us come up with the schedule.
Yeah, this is literally our thought pattern.
Mm-hmm. Of course, we're also the same people that over on It's Not That Bad, when we got to our 43rd episode, it's like, oh, maybe we should do movie 43. Yeah, we did. Of course we did.
We're pretty basic.
I don't know if we're basic, but we are the living epitome. Like, we are walking, talking, living, breathing dad jokes.
Captain Obvious.
All right, well, let's get into the obvious subject matter of this episode. Obvious only if you're looking at the thumbnail on your podcatcher or however you're listening to us. We're about to go through 15 albums of the Green Day discography. Now, as always, we're not doing any live albums. We are making an exception on our compilation albums because the Shenanigans album is a collection of rarities and B-sides. So these are songs that aren't on the other albums. And since they're all in one disc and it was released as such, we get to talk about it. So every now and then we kind of get to make little exceptions here and there. But there are some songs that are out there that weren't released on full-length albums where it's like, Oh, I guess we don't get to talk about that, do we?
Doesn't that just make it an album if it's compiled and released?
Well, it is a compilation album because of it being compiled, but it allows us to be able to talk about some of those B-sides and other songs. We're also not going to be dealing with any Billie Joe Armstrong solo albums. We are just talking about albums released under the Green Day banner. And of course, we're going to start with an album that is actually, technically speaking, 3 albums in one. 1039 Smoothed Out Slappy Hours. Now, this is a combination of their debut album, 39 Smooth. It also added the EPs Slappy and 1000 Hours, hence why you get 1039 Smoothed Out Slappy Hours. 39 Smooth was released April 13th, 1990. The EP Slappy was released in 1990, and the 1000 Hours EP was released in April of 1989. The band at this point is Billie Joe Armstrong, Mike Dirnt, and John Kiffmeyer on drums. The combined release, all 3 in one, was released on October 1st, 1991, hit number 176 on the Australian album charts, and is gold in the US. So we're talking early days and pre the only band member change of the entire band's existence. Your thoughts on this, like, early days of Green Day?
So that's exactly what the intention and the hope was. Because when you think of Green Day, there's like maybe a handful of songs that come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all so freaking good. But my hope, my want from this entire assignment is to find the B-sides or to find the songs, the hidden gems.
The deep dives, the deep tracks,
Exactly, because I gotta be honest, this was a first listen to this disc and many. Okay, so maybe about 9 out of the, 11?
15.
15, okay. Some of these songs, some of these entire albums in its entirety completely eluded me up until this point. So, my hope was to find, I don't know, new to me, old.
Old to them, new to us, yes.
Right. I wanted to find new stuff to listen to, and I did. As far as an album, I loved the kind of like the free-for-all punk vibe of this, that this album especially had. And that was kind of my hope, because I really love the sound of Green Day, and a little bit more on that later. I'm going to I have notes about their sound.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It feels like an album that's recorded like live off the floor, because there's certain songs I'm listening to where it's like you almost have that inclination, or at least hearing that inclination for them to want to play a little bit faster than they're trying to pull it back a little bit. And I mean, that happens live. Anytime you go out to go see a bar band or something like that, you're going to hear some bands and they'll start to waver a little bit on their tempo. They might speed up a little bit, they might slow down a little bit, kind of thing. But it's live and it's raw, and it's not wrong. It's just live music, right? There is no such thing as perfect live music. I would rather hear a band feel like they're playing together and live, and you got that feeling off of this collection.
Exactly. But you know what? To me, as a listener, it was more like, this is when punk was fast and live,
that pop punk, yeah,
and that whole elbows out, we're going for a good time, and yeah, like a live punk show energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the energy that translated, I think, the most on this album.
Yeah, this kind of felt like a living room concert.
Yeah,
with no crowd applaud whatsoever. But I love that vibe. So, what did you go off of this disc?
Well, I have to acknowledge the first song that I heard off of this, which is At the Library.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's that it was the first song on the album, but I loved, again, the simple punk energy. Just that, again, whether it's that they're speeding through for whatever reason, if they want to have that punk energy, or they want to have, maybe it's first album and they're kind of like rushing, as you said, through the song.
Well, first full-length album for them, but yes, go on.
Okay, but you get the idea that it had, I don't know, just again that live feeding off of the audience energy exchange. So at the library was fun, but I found that my choice was 16.
Okay.
Because it was catchy. I found myself singing along to it. I didn't know the words. It's the first time I ever heard it, but I was like, yeah, this song is catchy and I can get behind it. And so that was my choice.
I actually had Don't Leave Me, The Judge's Daughter, and The One I Want on my short list, but I'm with you on At the Library. Like, there's a lot to this. The harmonies are fantastic. We got to talk about Billie Joe Armstrong's guitar parts, though. This is one of those things where when you think pop punk, you think like powering through 3 or 4 chords per song, right? The thing is, Billie Joe Armstrong's guitar parts can be deceptively complicated. Like, it may sound simple, but there is way more to it. And you get that early feel for what Green Day is going to become. Hooky chorus, the harmonies between Mike Dirnt and Billie Joe Armstrong, those two, it's almost like the pop punk version of what Lane Staley and Jerry Cantrell had with Alice in Chains in the early days, where their harmonies were an instrument unto themselves, speaking above just the lead vocals, speaking above Jerry Cantrell's solos. Those two, vocally, Mike Dirnt and Billie Joe Armstrong, meant to sing together. Like Destiny put them together and said, your voices are perfect. Go. Just go. Sing together. It's going to be awesome. And you hear that here.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
When your investors, customers, and workers demand more from your business, make it happen with SAP. The AI-powered capabilities of SAP can help you streamline costs, connect with new suppliers, and manage payroll, even when your business is being pulled in different directions. To deliver a quality product at a fair price while paying your people what they're worth too, so your business can stay unfazed. Learn more at sap.com/uncertainty.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
Kerplunk, released December 17th, 1991. We have a member change now, and the only member change of the main 3, Trey Cool, is now on drums. The album hit number 186 on the Australian charts. It's platinum in the US and gold in the UK. I mean, I remember too, like being in like the at least the local indie scene in the early 90s kind of thing. This album I saw on so many different like people's cassette collections there, the cassette carrying cases. And this was kind of before I was into Green Day. I'll admit I jumped in like most people did around Dookie, but I knew that the Kerplunk album was there, and it still has a bit more of a raw, not as finely polished, from production and recording standpoint vibe. But your thoughts on Kerplunk?
I think you're absolutely right. Oh,
yeah.
Save that.
You said that.
Save that as a ringtone. But when you mentioned the rawness, the energy of like that punk, kind of like unpolished, kind of, just like there was something with the guitars that made it kind of raw. That like unpolished rawness. I really liked this album because it felt almost like the garage release.
Yeah.
Right? The garage recordings. I hate to be completely obvious, but I chose Welcome to Paradise And although the songs were great on this one, I had to go with that one only because, and spoiler alert, I didn't get to choose this song off of Dookie.
Okay, so you did exactly the same thing as I did.
Nice.
But the thing is, I actually like the rawer record of Welcome to Paradise on this. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everything on Dookie sounds fantastic. And it's going to pain me, and spoiler alert, I'm not picking Welcome to Paradise off of Dookie, so I do get to pick it here. Although I did have 2,000 Light Years Away, 80, and Dominated Love Slave on my short list. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Pop punk should be fun.
And you know what? You're absolutely right that the rawness off of this album versus, you know, in the next 3 years when they released Dookie, there was a real change in their sound. It became far more polished on Dookie and more produced.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, did they have like a record label change, or at that point were they just blowing up and they had maybe a bit more money to invest in the recording process? Like, I didn't look at the record label, but it almost seems like there was a real tonality change of their sound.
Yeah, so 39 Smooth and Kerplunk were both released on Lookout Records. It wasn't until Dookie where they ended up on Reprise Records. So yes, there is an actual label change there, but also as far as the producer goes. So Kerplunk was produced by Andy Ernst, and then when you finally get to them on the major label on Reprise, you have longtime producer with them, Rob Cavallo, on behind the board. So yeah, there is a lot that's going on behind the scenes that leads to the sound quality and the recording quality of a song like Welcome to Paradise. I like listening to this one though, and I say that because you take a look at the career trajectory of Green Day, and you know how like every now and then you get like two bands that kind of run parallel at the same time, and they're always kind of going to be associated with one or the other just because of the timeline of when things come out. I mean, back in the 80s, you take a look at Bon Jovi and Def Leppard. They kind of ran the same parallel lines, even though they was on opposite sides of the Atlantic. Here, you could sit there and take a look at Green Day, and you can take a look at The Offspring and see like the same parallel trajectory, because Green Day blows up on Dookie, which is released in 1994. But they still had those two albums, those two full-length albums that came out beforehand. The Offspring blows up in 1994 with Smash, but they had their self-titled release that came out in 1989 and Ignition, which came out in 1992. Both have some of those rawer kind of feels to it, even though Offspring was already on Epitaph Records by Ignition, whereas Green Day had to wait until that Dookie album to pop onto Reprise Records. So, but you can see those parallels in some of those earlier songs. Like, I love The Offspring's Jennifer Lost the War, which is on their very first album. And the only reason I heard it was because it was on one of those compilation cassettes that I would continuously buy, because that was the greatest way to discover new bands back in the 90s. I miss compilation albums and CDs and the like, but you still get to discover bands like that. Now it's just Spotify playlists. There's just something not as exciting about it.
I also think if you rewind back to the mid 90s, like 1994 to about 96, like there was just something about music in general.
Oh, 1994 is like one of those greatest years of music. I think you could, it's kind of hard to point to which album in, or which year in the 90s had the best music overall. But 1994, you've got an argument for that being one of the best ones ever.
It was almost like an explosion. Like there was a real shift to, I don't even know if it was like, if I look back to my age, or if it was just like what was happening in music at that time.
I think it's also that moment in your life too.
There was a lot of like great, like really memorable. But when you think about like the quintessential stack of cassettes, and Green Day is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like that switch right before it went into grunge. It was kind of,
grunge was still also kind of like earlier 90s, right? Like 91 to 93 kind of thing. In 94, it started to really expand, and you had the rise of the independent labels. Like Epitaph Records was really starting to roll. You also had the Sub Pop era that stemmed from Nirvana. So you had all of these different independent labels. They were all finding fantastic artists. And keep in mind too, this is also when Much Music in Canada and MTV in the States, this is the heyday of music television.
And that could be it. Maybe the visuals put to it, music videos, right? Like video killed the radio star.
But think about it, right? I mean, I'm darn Skippy, you and I are of like the same mindset. Like back in the day, back in those years, you'd get home and you'd pop on Much Music and you would let that play all day, because then you would discover all these different kinds of artists. And you could have on the radio, you could have a Green Day, or at least on Much Music, you have a Green Day, video playing, and then, oh yeah, here's Mariah Carey too, because there were no rules. There was no really genre. Yes, on radio you had rock radio, you had pop radio, but on Much Music and MTV, you'd have a couple of videos, and you have like Green Day, Offspring, and whatever, like maybe Bush, and then like commercial break, and you come back, and by the way, here's Mariah Carey, and here's all this, and it's like, holy crap, like you got the everything, which is why I think people who grew up in the 90s have a wider appreciation of different genres, and they aren't pigeonholed into just one section of the record store. Dookie, released February 1st, 1994. The album hit number 1 in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and on the US Heatseekers charts, but only number 2 on the Billboard 200. It is double diamond in the States. That means it's sold over 20 million copies in the States, and it's also diamond in Canada. It is 5 times platinum in Australia, 4 times platinum in Denmark, Ireland, and New Zealand, triple platinum in the UK, and platinum in Argentina, Austria, Italy, Japan, and Spain. There were 4 singles off of this one. Longview, Basket Case, and When I Come Around all hit number 1 on the US alternative charts, and When I Come Around hit number 6 on the Billboard 100. And at the 37th Grammys, Dookie won for Best Alternative Music Performance. Longview was nominated for Best Hard Rock Performance, and you're about to get a really good idea of what everything was in 1994 music. Longview nominated Best Hard Rock Performance, but lost to Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden, which, okay, it's Black Hole Sun, I get it. Basket Case was nominated for Best Rock Performance by a duo or group with vocal, but lost to Crazy by Aerosmith. And Green Day was nominated for Best New Artist, but lost to Sheryl Crow. But listen to who else was nominated that year at the Grammys for Best New Artist. Ace of Base, The Counting Crows, and the Crash Test Dummies. Like, that's a damn good year for new music.
It really is. I mean, good on Sheryl Crow for taking away the award. But
well, her album really was monumental that year. It's really hard to not give it to her.
There's a lot of good contenders, though, in that list.
Oh, yeah. Also, Ace of Base. I saw the sign. No. You know what the funny thing is, though? 1994, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, right? The Offspring comes out with Smash in 1994. Green Day comes out with Dookie in 1994. And when it comes to like rock albums, neither of those are my favorite of 1994. My favorite rock album from 1994 is actually Trouble Gum by Therapy. It's a fantastic album, and if you haven't heard this trio out of Ireland, you need to listen to them. So off of Dookie, and I know this is going to be a hard album to choose from because literally front to back, this is all killer, no filler. Like, how hard was it to pick off of this disc?
I don't suppose I could just pick the whole album and call it a day.
Nope.
Didn't think so.
No, this isn't There Can Only Be One Album. This is There Can Only Be One Song.
All right, well, Jay, I'm going to promise you and the listeners that everything is okay at home, okay? Because when I go over my short list, it's questionable. It's questionable. I'm going to lead with FOD only because I don't want to censor in the editing process, so I'm going to just call it FOD and move on.
You're going to have to censor anyways when we get near the end of this discography run, because there's an album title that I'm going to say in full.
I know. And I also really like Chump. Like, I love the lyrics. Maybe it's just jealousy mixing up with a violent mind. I mean, come on. You got to love that. It's so catchy. These songs, even though, you know, seem a little angry on the surface.
I get it.
But I mean, that was the whole punk mentality. That was the punk attitude.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just angry, but yet having fun, right?
The angriest lyrics with the happiest music.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. You can't, you know, not be happy when you're like thrashing around like with a bunch of friends. But I have to be obvious here. I'm going to go with the obvious pick of Longview. And that's because of, I think it's because of that like blues riff, you know, like it's just.
It's that walking bass line.
The quintessential. Yeah. You hear it and you're like, yeah, Longview.
Yeah. I'm going to put this out there right now. Okay. It's really hard to find any four-stringer as good as Mike Dirnt in this genre. Like, really, he is a bass maestro. And the funny thing is, it's not like the bass lines, for the most part, are overly complicated. I mean, yes, when you get one like Longview and you're like, oh, crap, there's a lot going on in there.
Have you played it?
I have not. I've tried. I've played a number of Green Day songs, and a lot of those songs are probably going to influence a lot of my picks throughout the albums. The funny thing is, the one song I've played off of this disc is not my pick.
Oh.
So I did not pick When I Come Around. And as a bassist, it might be the obvious pick, but I did not pick Longview as my pick. Now, they're both on my short list, as is Welcome to Paradise, because, of course, right? It's my pick from the previous album. This is why I didn't pick it here. I also had She, and we need to give a special shout out here to a song. That's not my pick, but I thought about it. It's All By Myself. There might not be a more popular hidden track than All By Myself. Like, really, you think about what the MCU did for post-credit scenes. All By Myself, I think, did for hidden tracks. Like, they're not the first album to have a hidden track. But maybe aside from Velveteen, which was on the Wax the Static album by Sponge, All By Myself might be one of the best hidden tracks of all time. But I'm going with maybe one of the best opening lyrics that Green Day has in their entire discography. Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once? I'm going with Basket Case. Like, maybe it's Captain Obvious, but this was the anthem. This was the 1994 anthem. That chunky guitar riff, the speed, which like it's everything you wanted out of music in 1994. And if you had to pick one song maybe to represent that year of music, maybe that's the song, because it's everything you wanted out of Green Day. Insomniac, released October 10th, 1995, hit number 1 in Finland and number 2 on the Billboard 200. It is double platinum in Canada and the United States, platinum in Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and UK. There were 3 singles off of this one. Geek Stink Breath charted the highest, hitting number 27 on the Billboard Hot 100. And at the 39th Grammys, Walking Contradiction was nominated for Best Music Video, Short Form, but lost to Free as a Bird by the Beatles. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Beatles stole this one from Green Day, but I'm going to call shenanigans. But it's a music video award, so maybe I'm not as angry as if the Beatles stole the song award away from them. So maybe we let that one slide, but still.
It's the Beatles.
It's the Beatles.
Can you really compare? Can you really like contend with the Beatles?
Damn it, Beatles. Sit down, Paul and Ringo. I rest my case. All right. off of Insomniac. And this is trying to bounce back from, or at least follow up from, what is arguably the most mammoth album from 1994, your pick off of Insomniac.
I agree with the Billboard placing of Geek Stink Breath. I freaking love this song. It's fun. It's just fun. Walking Contradiction, also a great song. So both of them made my short list. Also Jaded, which is fast. It's fun. It was, again, that like quintessential up punk energy. But earlier in this podcast, we talked about how radio was such a pivotal point of reference for new music. And I remember rushing home from school, putting in a blank cassette tape and waiting by the radio for this one particular song made famous from Godzilla. And I'm talking Brain Stew. It is my absolute favorite song. I remember trying to get the record just right so I wouldn't get like the radio DJ's intro, but you just like 2 beats into this song.
You know, the other problem is it's got one of those intros where it's like, the DJ is going to talk over that entire guitar intro. And some of them are going to talk right up until Billy Joe starts singing. Oh, yeah, it was tough. Yeah. Damn it, DJs. Don't talk over the song. Play the record. Can I be honest? You're going to crush me now like Godzilla. I find Brain Stew boring. I knew you would say that, but I enjoy it. I like Jaded. And I know that Brain Stew and Jaded kind of get blended into one. Like kind of like how radio does with Queen's We Will Rock You, and then they immediately play We Are the Champions. What? The song isn't long enough? Do you need a bathroom break? I'm sorry, but no. I find Brain Stew overrated as far as the Green Day discography goes. I love that you love it. It's not my pick. It's not even on my short list. I have Brat, 86, and Stewart and the Avenue on my short list, but I am going with Geek Stink Breath, despite the fact that it is ridiculously hard to say sometimes because I do get tongue-tied. But this has got the energy. This has got the chug on the riff. This is a bobblehead song. Like, you sit there and you start bobbling your head. Like, there's no other way around it. This song would be perfect on a mid-tempo walking playlist. Like, if you're looking for something to pop in on your Spotify playlist while you're out for a walk, and you don't want to walk too fast, you don't want to like overexert your heart, you're just out for a nice little stroll, this is actually not a bad song to put on there. Nimrod, released October 14th, 1997, hit number 10 on the Billboard 200, number 3 in Australia, and number 4 in Canada. It is 4 times platinum in Canada, triple platinum in Australia, double platinum in the States, and platinum in Japan and the UK. There were 4 singles off of this one. Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, charted the highest, hitting number 11 on the Billboard 100, number 2 on the US alternative charts, and basically made every single graduation video ever. Think about it. Every let's look back on the memories montage. This is like the go-to song if you want to wax nostalgic on everything. I'm curious because this is one of those songs that is in everyone's lexicon. Is this your pick? What's hilarious is that was actually the year, not a word of lie, the year I graduated high school. And did you make a video? Hell yeah. Did you use this song? Oh yeah. Called it. Called it. I swear we didn't even know each other then, but it's like you know me. But did you pick it off this album? It was my short list. Okay, fair. It was my short list, but it's not my go-to pick. What'd you go with? I went with Hitchin' a Ride. The bass line, the kind of like walking bass line, you can't not. I'm a big fan. Love seeing you play it. Mm-hmm. I love this song, and that's my choice. I did mention that some of my picks were going to be taken from songs that I have played live from the Green Day discography. I have no short list off of Nimrod. It's Hitchin' a Ride. Absolutely. I find Time of Your Life a little overplayed, so I can kind of leave it behind. Although I understand why it makes your short list, and I can understand, dear listeners, if that is your favorite song of all time because it brings back happy memories. But I've played Hitchin' a Ride, and this is one of the most underrated Green Day songs out there. It's hard to not have a good time with this. It's a fun little bass line too, so you're darn right. I love this song.
And it's just so singable. Like, it's so catchy that, you know, if it comes on the radio, no matter where I am, it's stuck with me for a bit.
I mean, it's not punk at all. It's not pop punk at all. It every now and then Green Day kind of dives into different little subgenres. And I find Hitchin' a Ride, I mean, yeah, when you get to the like the end chorus and whatnot, that's when it feels a bit more punky, but just the first half of the song, just like, it's a fun little walk, and I love this song. Warning, released October 3rd, 2000, hit number 4 on the Billboard 200 and number 2 in Canada and Japan. It is platinum in Australia, Canada, Italy, Japan, and the UK. There were 3 singles off of this one. Minority hit number 1 on the US modern rock charts and number 15 on the mainstream rock charts. All right, so off of Warning, what'd you go with?
It's funny because you talked about different styles that Green Day seems to feed from.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't my pick, but I went with Hold On my short list.
Okay.
It had like a real, almost like a sea shanty kind of tonality to it. It was, and I found myself listening to a few Green Day albums where I kind of got almost like a parallel vibe between like sea shanties and punk music, where it's almost kind of like it's so catchy, or kind of follows almost like you know where I'm going with, like the sea shanty, the sing along.
Yeah, this is you're drinking a mug of beer in a Boston bar kind of vibe. Yes.
Yeah, exactly like that. And I'm like, almost exactly kind of like that sing song. Yeah, really like campfire kind of vibe.
Like almost like a Dropkick Murphys kind of vibe.
Dropkick Murphys, exactly what where I'm going with this. There is a real lineage, I think, between
beer and music.
Beer and music, yeah, and the whole like punk sound. It's almost kind of like a sea shanty sped up.
This is where one of those days where we're just going to make this podcast and we're just going to be like, all right, here's an album full of songs. What drink do you pair it with?
Right. I mean, even when you think about it, right? Like the whole like punk oi oi oi, right? Like that to me is kind of like you could picture, I don't know, a pirate singing the same kind of.
It's oi oi oi, not r r r.
But my actual pick was maybe obvious. It was a boppy. It's the title track. I went with Warning.
It's actually not that obvious because it didn't even make my short list.
Oh.
I had Minority on my short list, but I found this album a little bit thinner than previous outings, and it's probably a good thing because it's going to get big in a little bit, in about 4 years' time here. But Church on Sunday, this is a fun one. But more importantly, every now and then in the production of things, they'll come up with something and it's like, oh, this is just so obvious, but it adds so much more. There's a subtle organ line behind the pre-chorus on this that just, it makes the song, right? Because without it, it's still a good song, but there's something about that organ, that keyboard behind them, that just adds so much to the production value of Church on Sunday that it makes it so much more fun. And yeah, maybe it's a little obvious, maybe it's a little on the nose, but why not then? If the song calls for an organ or a keyboard, give it the organ or keyboard. Make it happen. Shenanigans, released July 2nd, 2002. This is that compilation that we talked about earlier of B-sides and rarities. Hit number 27 on the Billboard 200 and number 2 in Uruguay. It is gold in the UK and Japan. There was one single released off of this, Ha Ha, You're Dead, which was a previously unreleased song. And at the 42nd Grammys, there's a song on this disc it's called Espionage. And it was originally released on the Austin Powers The Spy Who Shagged Me soundtrack. At those 42nd Grammys, it was nominated for Best Rock Instrumental Performance, but lost to The Calling by Santana featuring Eric Clapton, because, of course. So, Shenanigans, this collection, your thoughts on this?
Okay, that is so funny because I didn't know that Espionage was from Austin Powers, but I mean, obviously, because I literally wrote a note that it reminded me of a spy movie theme song.
It's exactly what they did, yep.
And it was kind of like Pipeline.
A little bit, yeah.
It had like that kind of that surf Pipeline vibe, which I could get behind. But I went with something different.
What did you go with?
I went with Want to Be on TV.
Ooh.
Which is just like, to me, I wrote punk goodness. 2 words. It's just good. It had that boppy energy.
On my short list was Espionage because, yeah, it's catchy as heck. Don't Want to Fall in Love and Scumbag. One of the things I've always find interesting about Rarities collections is you take a look and you say, oh, it was like a B-side from this album cycle and maybe it was released as a bonus track on like the Japanese release or something like that. Suffocate was actually a B-side from the Nimrod era. And I'm surprised it didn't make the Nimrod track listing because holy crap, Suffocate is such a good song. I think Suffocate is better than about half the songs off Nimrod. I'm always fascinated as to why a song doesn't make the album. But the funny thing is, Suffocate feels like a song that should have made it onto Dookie. So maybe they were going for something different feel-wise for the songs for Nimrod. And maybe it didn't fit on Nimrod as a whole, like in the grand scheme of things. But holy crap, Suffocate is such a good song. And I'm glad that we actually have this compilation so I can actually talk about this song because I'd be upset if we couldn't. It's that good a song. Like, I'm sure you can think of a few songs that are either on like best of collections or soundtrack releases or something like that that you don't normally get to talk about on this show because we only deal with the studio albums. Looking at you, Tom Petty, Mary Jane's Last Dance, which is only released on a greatest hits album. There are some songs that don't fall under the purview of the way this show is run. So I'm glad I get to talk about Suffocate. American Idiot, released September 21st, 2004, hit number 1 in Australia, Austria, Canada, Ireland, Norway, Scotland, Sweden, Switzerland, the UK, and the US. It is diamond in Canada. It is 8 times platinum in the Ireland and UK, 6 times platinum in Australia, New Zealand, and the US, 5 times platinum in Denmark, 4 times platinum in Germany, double platinum in Argentina, Austria, Italy, Japan, and Switzerland, and platinum in Belgium, France, Greece, Mexico, and Sweden. There were 6 singles off of this one. American Idiot hit number 1 on the US alternative charts and in Canada. Boulevard of Broken Dreams hit number 1 on the alternative charts and number 2 on the Billboard 100. And Holiday hit number 1 on the US alternative charts. At the 47th Grammys, this album won for Best Rock Album. And the album was nominated for Album of the Year, but lost to Genius Loves Company by Ray Charles and various artists. The American Idiot song was nominated for Record of the Year, but lost to Here We Go Again by Ray Charles and Norah Jones. It was nominated for Best Short Form Music Video, but lost to Vertigo by U2. Nominated for Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal, but lost to Vertigo by U2. And nominated for Best Rock Song, but lost to Vertigo by U2. Seeing a pattern here? But at the 48th Grammys, so 1 year later, Boulevard of Broken Dreams won for Record of the Year. This is a monster album. Arguably one of the biggest ones of their entire career. So before we even get into our picks, you take a look at the tent poles of their career, right? Dookie and American Idiot. Gun to your head, you can only have one of those 2 albums. What do you pick?
Well, that's not fair.
Oh, no, it's fair.
No, because when you look at it, this was released in 2004.
Yes, 10 years after Dookie.
10 years. So I like to look at this as the decade of Green Day. Like 10 years of just solid music. And the reason I say that is because this was the Green Day that I knew. When I started this show, I said there was maybe a handful of songs that I was familiar with, and this is the decade.
Mm-hmm.
So anything beyond this point is new territory. Anything previous to 94 was a first listen. So the 10 years of Green Day and this album, can I just pick the whole thing and call it a day?
Nope.
Because American Idiot is the quintessential Green Day album. So to pick one, I think Dookie started it. American Idiot ran with it.
Okay.
I'm not answering your question.
You failed to answer the question. Yeah. I mean, gun to my head, if I got to pick one album, I think it's American Idiot. I think it's a better musical album. Dookie is tons of energy, tons of fun. And yeah, it moved the needle on pop punk in 1994. This is a mature album. These are musicians who have honed their craft and latched on to something. Like they caught lightning in a bottle with American Idiot, which does make it really hard to pick off this disc. So I ask you, since it is so hard, what did you pick off this disc?
Well, there's a few things. The first, and we mentioned that, September's over and it's time to wake up the lead singer, Billy Joe, wake up. It's almost October. So Wake Me Up When September Ends is, you know what? It's a great song.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a great song. It's lovely. I do have a question, however.
Mm-hmm.
Spotify has this album listed at 9 songs.
Yes. So,
however, you get like 2 for, so you get like a bonus 4 on the listing. So I've got like Holidays / Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Does that count as 1 song and I get to pick 2?
No. No. And by the way, if you are going to our website at notthatbadcast.com, if you take a look at the playlist that we have made from this album, you will notice that the song selections that we are picking from this disc come from the 20th anniversary deluxe edition of Green Day's American Idiot. Why? Not because it gives us extra songs, as we just listened to the original release, but they have the songs released as individual songs. So if you were to pick one half of those songs, then it would just show up as the one song. So you get one song. You don't get to double down on this, despite what Spotify says.
Well, that's unfortunate because I really equally like Holiday and Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to make me pick one over the other.
I am going to make you pick one over the other.
Well, kind of a fangirl over here, but I love watching you play Holiday.
Yeah, there's a couple songs that I've played off this one. Like I do play American Idiot off of this one, and I have played Holiday in the past. You know what's funny? Every now and then, whether it's you're learning something new, right? It could be a new language, it could be a pronunciation of a name, or it could be learning how to play a song. Sometimes you get a song and there's a stumble point where it takes you a long time to work your way through it. So Holiday was actually one of the first songs I had to learn when joining the band The Freaking Lolas. The bridge of this song, it doesn't sound tough, but that little bass line walk, I'm like, dirty freaking musical master you. The minute I nailed this one, and it took a little bit, it took practice. I sat there noodling away, just trying to get the muscle memory for this bridge. The minute I nailed it, I'm like, holy crap, I can do this now. And it was like one of those just self-congratulatory moments of learning to play music that I really felt that I could be in a cover band because I learned how to play the bridge of Holiday.
You leveled up.
I did level up.
It's so funny because I remember growing up, I had a group of friends who formed a punk band. And Green Day was like it was the goal.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Green Day songs that my friends would practice. I, however, not good. I can't play at all. So mad respect to...
You guitar good? No.
I can't sing. I can't play guitar. Cannot count to 4. So I am out on the drums. I just can't. I'm not... I enjoy music.
We retired her from the triangle.
I'm a professional music fan. That's it. That's about my extent of my music ability.
Fair. I mean, I did have American Idiot and Jesus of Suburbia on my short list.
Oh, good one too.
Yeah, like it was a toss-up, but again, it's one of those things where you gain a connection with a song when you start to play it. And Holiday is always going to be that song that made me realize that I could play lots of different things in cover bands. So that bridge of Holiday was almost like the gates of music opening for me.
Fun little confession. Whenever this song comes on the radio and I'm in the car, especially alone, only alone, I sing it. I sing it loud and unapologetically horrible, but I have fun with it. There's just something about this song.
You say you're alone, but they can hear you outside of the car. You know that,
I'm
right?
sure they can, and it's bad.
That's why you're not allowed to drive down that street anymore. 21st Century Breakdown, released May 15th, 2009. Hit number 1 in Austria, Belgium, Canada, the Czech Republic, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, New Zealand, Norway, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, the UK, and the US. Just spin a globe, point, and you'll probably find some place where it hit number 1. It is double platinum in Canada and New Zealand, and platinum in Australia, Austria, Denmark, France, Ireland, Italy, Switzerland, the UK, and the US. There were 5 singles off of this album. Know Your Enemy hit number 1 on the US alternative charts. And at the 52nd Grammys, the album won for Best Rock Album. 21 Guns was nominated for Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals and nominated for Best Rock Song, but they both lost to You Somebody by the Kings of Leon. And that's actually a pretty good song, so I don't fault them on that one. So off of 21st Century Breakdown, you're 5 years after the release of American Idiot, which was a massive hit. You come out with another concept album, basically. Your pick off of this.
This was a first listen for me. So,
I mean, aside from Know Your Enemy, because you knew that song.
Exactly. But none of my picks were the releases that you talked about.
Okay.
So I was really going with new and uncharted, undiscovered music here. To me, new to me. And when we talked about covering Green Day's discography, my hope was to find hidden gems, or at least the unknown songs that I didn't know existed. And I found that in Horseshoes and Hand Grenades.
Okay.
This was my hope. This was the sound that I was looking for. But funny enough, not my pick.
Oh.
Because as much as I enjoyed it as a song, I stumbled upon The Last Night on Earth.
Well, that's a good one, yeah.
What a beautiful song. Like, it was almost kind of like, and we know from Boulevard of Broken Dreams and the Good Riddance Time of Your Life songs that Green Day can do.
In essence,
really
a ballad, yeah.
Lovely ballads. But it stood out, and it completely just, stopped me in my tracks. And I'm like, okay, as much as I wanted that up punk, I'm going to go with the ballad.
Fair enough. And the funny thing is, I'm glad you mentioned the ballads now, because the songs you all mentioned, they're great songs, but they're not my favorite, what I would consider to be a ballad from Green Day. And we're going to get to that a little bit later. I had Know Your Enemy, East Jesus Nowhere, and Viva La Gloria Little Girl on my short list. But remember how I mentioned before that Green Day would often go into these little different genres and experiment a little bit musically. So my pick is a song that is the biggest missed opportunity for Mr. James Gunn. Hear me out. James Gunn, the man behind DC Studios right now. And if you're listening to this episode around release day, you know that Peacemaker Season 2 has been out. And James Gunn has a fantastic ear for music. But how is Peacemaker from 21st Century Breakdown not on anyone's radar in the Peacemaker TV series? Because this song feels like a Wild West Showdown kind of song with the acoustic guitar kind of strumming. The Mike Dirnt. When it comes to bass players that I admire, okay, for how I style my bass playing, it's Michael Anthony, Van Halen, and Sammy Hagar. Michael Anthony is, to me, especially for his backup vocals, Michael Anthony is right up there. But Mike Dirnt and a bass is magic. The bass line on this gives it that kind of Wild West kind of showdown kind of vibe, like almost like a comedy Western kind of thing. This is the kind of song that you could put the Lindsey Sterling violin line over and it would actually work really well. So darn right, Peacemaker off of this. And James Gunn, if you're listening, you know what to do. This song needs to make it into the Peacemaker TV series. Watch it be in like one of the last episodes. And this will come out and I'll be like, see, I was right.
United Healthcare nurse Crystal checked in on a patient.
We do a routine call after surgery, and I could tell in her voice that she was struggling.
Crystal knew she needed help.
And I knew that this is very serious. This is like septic. This is life-threatening.
And she knew just what to do.
And I called the hospital and said, she's coming in. Here are her labs.
And got her the help she needed.
I see my role at United Healthcare as a life-saving role.
Hear more stories like Crystal's at uhc.com. Benefits, features, and/or devices vary by plan area. Limitation and exclusions apply.
Only Murders in the Building, Season 5.
The hit Hulu original is back.
The night Lester died, he was talking with this mobster.
Was he killed in a hit? We need to go face to face with the mob. Get ready for a season. Buongiorno, signore.
Well, this is how I die.
You can't refuse.
You're gonna save the day, like you always do, by being smart, sharp, and almost always by mistake.
The Hulu original series, Only Murders in the Building, premieres September 9. Streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply. New episodes Tuesdays.
This podcast is supported by FX's English Teacher. Last year's critically acclaimed series returns to follow Evan, Gwen, and Marky as they vie for their students' divided attention. See why Cosmopolitan called its premiere season a masterclass of comedy, while Glamour raved it's the year's funniest and most heartwarming new comedy series. FX's English Teacher. All new Thursdays on FX. All episodes now streaming on Hulu.
Our next three albums were all released in 2012. Of course, eventually they were put together into one package and released as well as like 3 in 1 kind of thing. But we're going to deal with these albums individually. We start with Uno, released September 21st, 2012. During the recording process of these three albums, Uno, Dos, and Tre, Jason White, who was a touring guitarist with Green Day, joined in on the recording. So this is, at this point, Green Day is recording as a 4-piece. The album hit number 1 in Austria, Hungary, Italy, Peru, and on the UK rock and metal charts, and number 2 on the Billboard 200. It is gold in Austria, Canada, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the UK. There were 4 singles off of this one. Oh Love hit number 1 on the US rock charts. So as we dive into this basically triple album release over the course of about 4 months, your pick off of this first installment.
I definitely agree with the release track, and Oh Love was my pick.
Mm-hmm.
We talked earlier about how punk music can have a lineage of like sitting around the bar, sipping some beer out of a stein, and singing along, have a bar sing song. And Oh Love, to me, was like the perfect song for that.
I get that. And if you're looking for, swing a stein around kind of thing and drink and sing and dance and the whole works, yeah, Oh Love is perfect for that. You know what's funny? Throughout this whole process, I've been sitting here going, you know what? Green Day really knows which songs to release as the single. Because it's hard to not pick the singles with Green Day because their singles become very iconic. But then you get this album. And I'm sitting there looking at my short list, which is one song, and my pick. Neither of them were released as a single. So there's some missed opportunities here. I had Nuclear Family as my short pick, but Rusty James, and I realized that there's an F-bomb in the lyrics. I get it. This is such a boppy radio song that I'm surprised it wasn't released as a single. I mean, like this is classic Green Day. This is the Green Day sound, and it wasn't released as a single. Like I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, I'm sure you can think of a number of situations where you're like, how was this not released as a single? This is one of them for me. And I'll admit, like I was kind of struggling a little bit with this album. This is the one that comes up right before Oh Love. So I get it. But Rusty James is such a fun bop. Bleep out the word. Do a little guitar solo, something. Rusty James is so good.
I also enjoyed Let Yourself Go off of this album.
Also released as a single.
Yeah.
So, they do know what to do with the singles. They just didn't pick the one.
Which is funny because, again, my hope for this was to find the B-sides and the undiscovered.
Mm-hmm. That's Rusty James for me. Like, it's not a single. It was never on my radar. I'm just like, okay, cool. How have I never heard this song before, and why wasn't it released as a single? And then you had Dose, released November 9th, 2012, hit number 1 on the UK rock charts and number 9 on the Billboard 200, and it's gold in the UK. There was one single off of this one, Stray Heart, hit number 10 in Japan and number 36 in Italy, and guess what? Stray Heart is actually my pick. And again, this is all me bowing down to the musical genius of one Mr. Mike Dirnt, because when Mike Dirnt drops a bass line and wants to catch your ear, Mike Dirnt is going to catch your ear. And it's hard as a bassist to not go with the Mike Dirnt focused songs. But off of Dose, what did you go with?
I am curious who lent their vocals to a song called Nightlife. It was different. It had like a female, almost spoken rap,
that
if you
was
will.
Monica Painter who was on that.
Fantastic. So I picked this song. It was just so different, and it kind of had almost like a rap kind of vibe to it.
And the funny thing is, Monica Painter also co-wrote that song as well. I had Amy, Lazy Bones, and I'm sorry, get your bleep button ready. Time was on my short list. Time was such a fun song, though. Like, I'm listening to this, I'm like, you're back to having fun. Like, a song like, All By Myself, we know what it's about. Time is just such a fun freaking song that you're like, you can just imagine someone playing it as like a lark romantic song.
I could picture you playing it.
Oh, okay, so not everyone is as broken as I am, but this is something that I would totally do.
Totally.
So now you know what song I'm playing for us on our anniversary.
Oh my God.
Trey, released December 7th of 2012, hit number 2 on the UK rock charts and on the Billboard alternative charts, and number 13 on the Billboard 200, and it's silver in the UK. There were 2 singles off of this one, The Forgotten and Ex-Kid, neither of which charted. So before we get to our pick, I'm going to ask you something here, and this is going to be bugging me a little bit. You take a look at the songs on Uno, Dos, and Trey, and I would consider these albums okay. There's some good songs on them. Does it not make more sense to take the best songs from these 3 albums and release them just as one album?
We've spoken about this before.
Yes, we have.
And it's all about money. What it comes down to is if you have enough inventory, put out 3 albums. Because if you only release one, then that's one album sales. Now, granted, you would have a one killer album if you take the best of the best. But hey, again, if you have the creative inventory and in the time, I mean, 3 albums all released in the same year.
Yeah, but I mean, space them out. Give them a year each, right? Release one, go on tour. Release one, go on tour. Release one, go on tour.
Well, this was also 2012. So I'm guessing that was around the same time as like Napster, or where album sales were taking a dive.
They are absolutely taking a dive, and I fully understand that. But the thing is, if you make more money on the road, by staggering the releases, you extend the longevity of your time in the public music discourse, right? And yeah, maybe there's shorter album cycles, but throwing them all at us at once, like this isn't a Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion situation. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 are basically the combination of one good album. Like there's some filler on those albums. If they had taken the best songs from 1 and 2, put them together, it's one good album. Here, you have maybe an album and a half of really, really good songs, or a good extended album. Or just space it out. Because I think as a whole, these 3 albums stand on their own better than something like Use Your Illusion does, or something like Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness from the Smashing Pumpkins.
Okay, but if you're a Green Day fan and a record collector, an album collector,
it's freaking Christmas, absolutely,
like we are, then you've got to have all 3, right? And
fair. I agree with that part, but
brilliant marketing. Yeah. Why not?
I don't know. You could have had a longer tour, I think, if you had just spaced it out a little bit, or at least paced yourself a bit. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just I've been listening to way too many albums over a short span of time, so I get it. But off of Trey, what did you go with?
I found this of the 3 was the most challenging. It was hard to find a pick. And I agree with The Forgotten. I had that on my short list.
Mm-hmm.
I also went with Brutal Love as my choice out of the 2 of them. But I found these songs were kind of like, almost like downers. Like it was the best of the best on the album.
This is the weakest of the 3 albums, I think.
It really is. Yeah.
Or you know what? You take a couple songs off of this and you sprinkle them on Uno and Dos, and then you've got 2 really good albums. And I understand that. I mean, I had Missing You and Walk Away as my short list, but I ended up going with X-Kid because, I mean, it's a decent mid-tempo bop, but you're right. I don't think we needed Trey, even though I like the fact that, it's Trey Cool on the album cover. The album's called Trey, and I get what they're trying to do with that as far as the naming goes. But yeah, it just seemed like a little too much music in a short span of time. Revolution Radio, released October 7th, 2016. They're now back to recording as just the trio, as just Billy Joe, Mike Dirnt, and Trey Cool. The album hit number 1 in Belgium, Canada, Croatia, Greece, Ireland, Italy, New Zealand, Scotland, South Korea, Sweden, Switzerland, the UK, and the US. And it's gold in Italy and the UK. There's 3 singles off of this one. Bang Bang hit number 8 on the US rock charts. Now we're getting back to sounding like Green Day to me. Like Revolution Radio feels like almost like the proper follow-up to 21st Century Breakdown. Your thoughts and your pick.
This was a first listen, so everything on it to me was new. I really liked Troubled Times. It was kind of like almost like a anthem of the youth, like that punk sound that I think I was looking for. Bouncing Off the Wall was a fun bop, and that was inevitably my choice. I also liked Not Done. It was the last song on the album, and it kind of caught me by surprise because it was so different than the rest of the album. And it was kind of, I'm not sure if that was the intention, is putting it at the end, but it was just kind of different. So I'm going to go with Bouncing Off the Wall on this one, but it was the first time I ever heard it. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard Revolution Radio and Bang Bang on the radio, so I was familiar with those songs, but this was the first listen to the disc for me. I had those 2 songs and Still Breathing on my short list, but I ended up going with Say Goodbye. This song felt very much like the songs off of American Idiot and off of 21st Century Breakdown. This felt like getting back to what the Green Day sound is. You got the harmonies, you got the riff there, you got everything that you want in a Green Day sound. Had Uno, Dos, and Tres not existed, this would have felt like the proper follow-up. Father of All Mother released February 7th, 2020. The album is actually produced by Butch Walker, he of Marvelous 3 fame. The album hit number 1 in Australia, Scotland, Switzerland, the UK, the US rock charts, and number 4 on the Billboard 200. There were 3 singles off of this one. Oh Yeah charted the highest, hitting number 1 on the Canadian rock charts and number 3 on the US rock charts. Now, I remember when I did the Wallflowers episode, and we got to their most recent album, which was also produced by Butch Walker. Butch Walker is a phenomenal songwriter and producer. He worked wonders with the Wallflowers. I want your thoughts on this disc before I chime off here.
I liked it. I'm not as familiar with this album. Again, anything.
Oh, this was a first listen for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Or anything previous to Un, Dos, Tres was unknown territory.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked it. I mean, I have a 2-song pick, so I can't, to be honest, I did my research maybe about a week ago, and I can't really talk about the other songs because nothing really stood out enough to draw my attention to. But I liked Junkies on a High. It was slow and plodding. It was kind of like, almost had that Boulevard of Broken Dreams kind of sound. I don't know if it was meant to be like a part 2 to Boulevard of Broken Dreams. But I liked it. I mean, it made my short list. Stab You in the Heart, though, was a rockin' little ditty. It was like old school rock and roll. And the cool thing about Green Day's sound is, I dare say that here I just found a parallel between Junkies on a High and Boulevard of Broken Dreams, but there's not a lot of repetitive or this is the Green Day quintessential sound.
This isn't the Green Day sound.
They have different, they try different things.
But the thing is, I think the addition of Butch Walker behind the console producing this album, it doesn't feel like a Green Day album, like at all. Like Butch Walker nailed the Wallflowers sound and helping co-write those songs with him. Like it's a match made in heaven. Jacob Dylan and Butch Walker together. I wasn't a fan of this album, and I have no short list. My pick is Stab You in the Heart, and I think that's more because it sounds like a more rocked up hippie shake, going back all the way to the Cocktail soundtrack and the Georgia Satellites. But this, if you're looking for a Green Day album, this isn't it. This is not it. I don't hate the songs off of it, but if you're looking for that Green Day sound, if you're looking for something different, okay, cool, right? But if you're looking for the Green Day sound, you have 14 other albums to pick from.
I almost wonder, though, if you look at it, released in 2020, right? So,
but February 7th, so this is before the lockdown of everything happens, because that happened in March.
No, but my point is, at this point, they've been putting out albums for...
Don't do the math.
I know.
Don't do the math.
I know. But with that said, they're older. Maybe their sound has evolved, or their style has changed.
I'm going to argue that one because the next album, Saviors, sounds like a Green Day album. And there's a reason why. It's because Rob Cavallo is back as producer on Saviors, released January 19th, 2024. Hit number 1 in Croatia, Hungary, Scotland, Switzerland, the UK, and the US alternative and rock charts, and number 4 on the Billboard 200. And it's silver in the UK. There were 5 singles off of this one. The American Dream is Killing Me and Dilemma hit number 1 on the Canadian rock charts, and The American Dream is Killing Me hit number 22 on the US rock charts. At the 67th Grammys, Dilemma was nominated for Best Rock Song but lost to Broken Man by St. Vincent. The American Dream is Killing Me was nominated for Best Rock Performance, but lost to Now and Then by the Beatles. Green Day loses to the Beatles again. And they were nominated for Best Rock Album, but lost to Hackney Diamonds by the Rolling Stones. So you lose to the Rolling Stones and the Beatles in 2024.
You can't argue with the classics.
Those aren't classics, though. I mean, they're
Beatles.
classic artists, yes, but they're not classic albums.
You can't contend with the Beatles.
Apparently not. At least Green Day can't. Okay, this is the thing. Rob Cavallo, longtime producer with Green Day, Rob Cavallo. You get to Saviors 4 years after Father of All. I'll let you not have to, censor that one. But this sounds like Green Day. And I get you want to try something different, maybe something to spark the juices kind of thing. Father of All wasn't it, Saviors was. What's your pick off this?
You know what's funny, though? My pick, and I don't even have a short list. I have one song listed, and the reason is because it reminds me of Pink's So What? I chose One-Eyed Bastard because to me, it just stood out, and it was kind of like, I'm listening to it. It was a first listen, and I'm like, this reminds me of, it reminded me of Pink. And,
I get that.
And so, maybe, I don't know. I don't even know if that's fair, right? It's like to
Why
pick a
isn't
song
it fair?
Because it reminds me of another artist that
I've done that so many times.
I don't know.
We literally talked about that with Stab You in the Heart, feeling like a Hippie Shake remake kind of thing. Normally on this show, my picks off the albums are based more from a musical standpoint because I'm a musician. It happens. I get it. I'm a bassist. God bless Mike Dirnt. I get it. I had Bobby Sox, Goodnight Adeline, and Look Ma No Brains. And for the majority of my listen through this album, it was Look Ma No Brains because it was fun. It's like, all right, this is a Green Day song. Then you get to Father to a Son. This is my favorite Green Day ballad. And it's lyrically. This song, maybe it's because I'm a dad. But this song, the maturity, dear dads, okay? Dear dads, this is the song. Listen to these lyrics. You're a lighthouse in the storm from the day that you were born, a promise, father to a son. Your mother said it best, we will be put to a test, a promise to a son. Like, whether you're a new dad or, kids are of a certain age, this is the song. And musically, it's fantastic. It's cinematic. It's gorgeous. This is maybe one of the most lush Green Day songs from their entire discography, but it's lyrical. Like this is a punch into your feels, this song. I think more so if you're a dad. So from a band that did a wonderful hidden track song about masturbation to apparently the song we're going to play in our anniversary every year, to a song that literally hits you through fatherhood. Green Day runs the gamut of everything. But now we get to the hard part of everything, which is we got a 15-song playlist each. Now we got to pick one. So Carrie, remind our listeners what your picks are. And then if there can only be one Green Day song from the songs that you have picked, what's it going to be?
My Green Day greatest hits starts back in 1991 with 16. And I'm doing the math. I don't think that's quite accurate, but close enough. From Kerplunk, I went with Welcome to Paradise, the rougher version of Welcome to Paradise, which I kind of liked. From Dookie, I went with Longview because, of course. From Insomniac, I had to pick Brain Stew, even though Jay would disagree with me.
Wholeheartedly, I would.
From Nimrod, I went with Hitchin' a Ride. From Warning, I had to agree with the title track and picked Warning. From Shenanigans, I went with Want to Be on TV. From American Idiot, I went with Holiday. From 20th Century Breakdown, I went with Last Night on Earth. From Uno, I went with Oh Love. From Dos, I went with Nightlife. From Trey, I went with Brutal Love. From Revolution Radio, I went with Bouncing Off the Wall. From Father of All Motherfuckers, which I love that title. I just have to say that. What a brilliant play on words. I went with Stab You in the Heart. And from Saviors, I went with One-Eyed Bastard.
But if there can only be one, what's it going to be?
If there is only one Green Day song that I can pick, this is tough. Because I know you're going to so disagree with me, but I'm going with Brain Stew.
You and many other people, I understand. I understand music is a very personal selection. I get it. I do not hold it against you, even if you're wrong. Off of 1009 Smoothed Out Slappy Hours, I went with At the Library. From Kerplunk, I went with Welcome to Paradise. From Dookie, I went with Basket Case. Off of Insomniac, I went with Geek Stink Breath. From Nimrod, I went with Hitchin' a Ride. From Warning, I went with Church on Sunday. From Shenanigans, I went with Suffocate. From American Idiot, I went with Holiday. From 21st Century Breakdown, I went with the missed James Gunn epic Peacemaker. From Uno, I went with Rusty James. From Dose, I went with Stray Heart. And from Trey, I went with X-Kid. From Revolution Radio, I went with Say Goodbye. From Father of All I went with Stab You in the Heart. And from Saviors, I went to Father to a Son, which is surprised me how punch you in the feels it was. But when a song can make you feel like you can do this music thing, I'm going with Holiday.
Wow, I thought it would have been Hitchin' a Ride.
Hitchin' a Ride's fun.
I would have lost money on that.
Holiday is fun as well. I think Hitchin' a Ride is more fun musically to play, but Holiday means more to me because of what it meant to me to learn that bridge.
Is it harder to play?
It is. It is absolutely harder to play. At least the bridge is. But there's also, because I don't play with a pick. I don't. It's a lot of finger moving going along. Hitchin' a Ride is a little bit easier, but Holiday tested me, and for a little bit it bested me. Now it's the rest of the list. So yeah, Holiday for me, because it proved to me that I could do this music thing. Carrie, thank you so much for this. And to you, our dear listeners, well, you guys know the drill. If there is an artist that you want us to cover on There Can Only Be One, or an album that you want us to cover on Spin Shuffle Skip, hit us up on social media at OnlyOneCaster. Go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to the webpage so you get notified the minute we drop a new episode. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is There Can Only Be One, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.